Welcome to our peaceful ranch, a stretch of open land where quiet mornings and endless skies are part of everyday life. Each sunrise washes the horizon in warm color, promising another day of calm and solitude. The gate at the entrance marks the boundary of our private property, a space we value and protect. It represents more than just a fence line. It stands for privacy, safety, and respect. Unfortunately, not everyone honored that boundary. We found ourselves dealing with an unusual problem. A persistent individual from our HOA who seemed convinced that our private road was their personal shortcut. Despite clear signage and repeated polite requests, this person continued to drive through our property day after day. It wasn't just inconvenient. It was disruptive. It chipped away at the peace we worked so hard to maintain. We tried reasoning with them. We explained the importance of respecting private property. We pointed to the posted signs. Yet our words seemed to vanish into thin air. This story is about how we ultimately handled that ongoing issue, not with confrontation, but with creativity. It's about standing your ground, protecting what belongs to you, and finding an unexpected solution when the usual approaches fail. The problem started quietly. One vehicle, always the same car, would drive straight through our gate as though it were a public roadway. The private property signs were large and impossible to miss, yet they were ignored without hesitation. Hoping a visual deterrent might help, we installed security cameras. We assumed the presence of surveillance alone might be enough to discourage the behavior. Instead, the footage showed the same routine every single day. The car cruising past our warnings without slowing down. We attempted calm, respectful conversations. We explained the rules and clarified that the road was not for public use. Each time, we were met with nods and assurances that it wouldn't happen again. And each time, those promises were broken the very next day. Our frustration steadily grew. It began to feel less like ignorance and more like defiance, a quiet challenge to see how much we would tolerate. Neighbors who valued the same peaceful environment shared our irritation and offered their support. Complaints were made to the HOA, but the response was weak. Whether unwilling or unable to act, they failed to resolve the issue effectively. We soon realized traditional methods weren't working. It was time to think differently. The brainstorming sessions began. How do you discourage someone who ignores logic and courtesy? We tossed around ideas. Some practical, others admittedly extreme. Traffic cones were placed near the entrance, only to be driven around or casually moved aside. A chain across the gate was considered briefly, but we wanted something non-destructive and non-confrontational. Flashing warning lights were installed, blinking brightly as a clear signal to stop. They too were ignored. Each failed attempt strengthened our determination. We needed something unexpected, something memorable enough to make them reconsider their actions. Slowly, a plan took shape. It would be harmless but unforgettable. The goal was never to cause harm, only to create a moment that would leave a lasting impression. The stage was set for a creative solution. The setup was simple but strategic. We installed additional hidden cameras, not only to document the trespassing, but to capture the reaction. The main feature of our plan was a motion-activated sprinkler system positioned near the entrance. Any vehicle crossing the threshold would trigger a sudden, powerful spray of water. To add to the surprise, we connected a loud alarm designed to startle rather than intimidate. Everything was carefully tested. It was safe, but undeniably dramatic. Anticipation hung in the air. We knew it wouldn't take long. Night fell over the ranch, casting long shadows across the open land. The gate stood quietly, almost innocently waiting. Every small sound, the rustle of wind through trees, the distant bark of dog, felt amplified. We monitored the cameras, prepared for the inevitable. Then we heard it. The low hum of an approaching engine. Right on cue, the familiar headlights appeared, moving confidently toward our entrance as if nothing had changed. The vehicle crossed the invisible line, and instantly the trap activated. A sharp alarm blared into the night, followed by a sudden, forceful burst of water drenching the front of the car. The reaction was immediate. The driver slammed on the brakes, tires screeching as confusion and surprise took over. The water continued spraying, reflecting in the headlights. The car stopped abruptly. After a stunned pause, the driver quickly shifted into reverse and backed away from the unexpected ambush. The message had been delivered. loud and clear. By the following morning, the story had already spread throughout the neighborhood. Conversations buzzed with amused disbelief. The HOA, now unable to ignore the issue, finally addressed the situation directly with the individual responsible. The shortcut driving stopped completely. Our ranch returned to the calm, quiet sanctuary it had always been. The clever, harmless deterrent accomplished what polite conversations and warning signs could not. It was a small but meaningful victory for property rights, achieved not through confrontation, but through creativity and humor. Our relationships with neighbors strengthened, united by a shared appreciation for restored peace. This experience reminded us that the most effective solutions are sometimes the least conventional. Defending your property doesn't always require anger or escalation. Sometimes it simply requires ingenuity. We hope our story encourages you to find creative answers to your own persistent problems. And if you enjoyed this tale of clever problem solving, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories and inventive solutions to everyday challenges.